Yes, hello everyone, and welcome to the Dribble podcast, your home for basketball in WA, with an inside look at the Perth Wildcats, Perth Lynx, and WA basketball throughout the 2021-22 seasons. My name is Craig O'Donoghue from the West Australian newspaper, and throughout the year, I'll be joined by a host of guests to provide you with as much insight and entertainment as your basketball brain can handle. In this week's episode, we are talking imports and finals. Perth Lynx General Manager Brent Dawkins will join us to discuss the remarkable performance by his team as they head into the playoffs on Thursday. Plus, we'll be joined by reigning Perth Wildcats MVP John Mooney from his current basketball home in Japan in a week where imports are the major news story at the Wildcats. Okay, so there's always a challenge with recording a podcast on a Tuesday when you could be listening to it at any point of the week and news could break at any second. So, as of recording time, we all know that the Wildcats are attempting to sign American John Brown III. We all know he's in WA. But as we saw when the Perth Lynx attempted to get Sammy Whitcomb out of her contract in France, these things take time to get done, and then they suddenly happen really quickly. The Wildcats have clearly convinced Brown to come to the club because he's in the country, but they're yet to convince his Russian team to release him from the contract. Russia is 5 hours behind Perth, which isn't a terrible time difference, and that makes it a bit easier. But as of right now, as we record, Michael Fraser II remains a Wildcat, and the clock is ticking fast on a deadline, with Brown needing to play against Sydney on Saturday to be eligible for the finals. Speaking of the finals, the Perth Lynx finished second on the WNBL ladder and will open their semi-final series against the University of Canberra Capitals at the Bendat Basketball Centre on Thursday. Now, the man who pulled this Perth Lynx team together is General Manager Brent Dawkins. We spoke to him at the start of the season about the team that he had pulled together and what his thoughts were, and I'm happy to say he's back on the eve of the finals. Brent, welcome back to the Dribble podcast.
Thanks very much, Craig. Love to be here.
Now, congratulations on the season. To finish second, given the challenges this team has had, has been quite a remarkable effort. What do you think's been the key to it all?
Oh, look, it's been quite a remarkable season. As you just mentioned, I've been involved in sport for 20 years and I've never seen anything like it. It changes day by day, and sometimes we were meant to start at the start of November, then we were meant to start at the start of December. We ended up not starting till after Christmas for a start. And obviously we went on the road, stayed over there, potentially could have called the season off completely if we couldn't get back into WA, and then to go back, play some games here and then go back on the road again and sort of pump out 7 games in 14 days. It's been amazing and a fantastic effort, and the resilience of the group, to be honest, to get up and with not a lot of certainty day in, day out for the girls to get up and finish second and potentially we're almost in minor premiers is a great effort to the team.
So the physical challenges have been there for everyone to watch on TV, from the opening game where the team clearly lacked match fitness to the final game where they had nothing left in the tank. But what do you think was actually harder for them, the physical element of it or the mental worry that you mentioned of not knowing what was going on?
It differed at different parts of the season. So early on, definitely just to get some matches under your belt was important when a lot of the other teams had already sort of played 3 or 4 games. So match fitness you can't beat that. So that's definitely the case. Then probably in the middle of the season, it was the uncertainty when we were over there in Victoria and in Ballarat, and the girls just didn't know and where our next game was going to be. And if we could seriously get to the finish line, and that was a real possibility, we did have some meetings that are out there in the public now. There was a chance that we were going to pull the pin and the season we were never going to get to the finish line, even though we were sitting on top of the ladder. So middle of the season, definitely mental. And then late in the season again, to play 7 games in 14 days was probably physical in the end, including travel to one of the toughest places, I think, to play up there in Townsville in the humidity, to play 2 games up there. And, no excuses for the girls, but, and then finally good to be back in Perth now and ready for our home final.
So how close did it get to them pulling the pin? Because it was when that Feb 5 border didn't happen and they've got jobs and families back over here, it was a real life situation rather than a basketball situation. How close were you to them being able to say, we just can't stay in Victoria any longer?
Yeah, it was very close, Craig. We obviously had that announcement that the girls thought they would be able to come back, and then obviously the announcements that they couldn't. So then we had to call the group together, and we had a number of meetings over the next sort of 24, 48 hours, and it was very close. There were times where I probably thought we were done, honestly, and I thought I was preparing to work out what's the next step forward, and we're going to go out and not play at all. But then we found a way. We managed to find a way with the government and the state government to come up and play some games, and it gave us a new lease on life to see out the season. Meaned our back end of our season was fairly condensed after we quarantined over here, but we were really close to the point where I was prepared to virtually, I went to bed thinking that tomorrow I was going to come and say this was the season, we were done, but then we managed to turn around and once again, to the girls' credit, we stuck at it and we got to the finals.
And the reward is a home semi-final series against Canberra beginning at 6:30pm on Thursday at the Bendat Basketball Centre. It's been really clear, I reckon, from the 4 home games that you had that the support of the WA basketball community is really there and it's jumped behind the group. Have you sensed that there's a real bonding between the Lynx and WA basketball throughout this season?
Yeah, definitely, Craig. We made a conscious effort to actually bring people back to the Lynx, and we reduced the prices than what they were probably in other seasons that they were there. So we really made it a family, like to bring the kids out, and you've seen that at games yourself where kids are really getting involved. We've actually given a number of free tickets to each of the Wobble associations to get their girls and boys to come along and watch their heroes in that play, and that's been noticeable from where I've been watching, standing at the end of the court. It's been really pleasing to actually get a nice vibe in the place, and even though we can only have 50% in here, it's been really good, and it definitely gives us some fuel for thought next year about how we can actually fill the place.
So if we go deeper into the element of WA basketball in the Lynx, so when Basketball WA took over the licence, you always said there was going to be a heavy focus on producing local talent. And if we go back to the 2019-20 season, which was the last time the Wildcats owned the group, it was an 8-player roster with 3 DPs, and there were 2 of the 8 who were from WA clubs, which is Ellison Schwagmeyer-Belger and Maddie Allen, and the 3 DPs were all from WA clubs as well, Taya Burrows, Nasaya Williams and Jewel Williams. This year you've got a 9-player roster with 1 amateur and 4 DPs, and only 3 of that entire group haven't come from WA initially, including Sammy Whitcomb in that, including Darcy Garvin in those players who obviously have come back to WA having made their name elsewhere. How important was it for you to build a base around people who everyone over here knew and they could look at them and say, they've come from WA, this is what this team's about? Oh, vitally important.
It's also a balance as well, but our number one was to make sure we got that balance right. So WA was a big tick for us. So if you're a talented WA athlete, as you said with, Darcy was up in Townsville, and to get her back into her home state, and just the whole way through, and you can just see it from our games where, you've seen a group of Willetton girls come in with all their Willetton tops on, and they're cheering for, Alex Sharp and Emma Gandini because they watch her play at NBL 1 West, and they have that connection with them. Whereas, don't get me wrong, if you bring people from interstate, they don't have that connection back in local basketball, and that's been a big push for us. But also being able to get Jackie Young, Marina Mabry, those 2 girls from, I guess, outside of the WA system, you've still got to be successful on court. So, if you went purely WA girls, then that success probably isn't going to happen. So you do have to complement it with some outside talent as well, and that's what I think we've done.
So with this local group, Alex Sharp is obviously Victorian, but had been living in America for several years and then came over here, but stayed in the off-season and played for Willetton. Was it important from a cultural standpoint that happened, that she was remaining in the state, playing in the league, and not only just playing, she was dominating, grand final MVP, league MVP, and setting a standard for others to see? Yeah,
absolutely. And it actually was really good. And she loves Perth. She's playing again for Willetton this year. She had no doubt she would have had the opportunity from the NBL 1 South Club to go back and play there in Melbourne. But I guess, not speaking out of turn, but she has said to me in the past, she hasn't been back to Melbourne for, I guess, nearly 6-7 years now, because she sort of comes straight from college here to Perth. So she loves Perth, and hopefully we can keep her here for a long time in the future. But that's important for us as well. So yeah, they weren't born in WA, but they definitely have links to the WA clubs and the associations. But what you said earlier about the 9 and the 3, with our 4 DPs being all WA, we also have a group under that which is also WA as well with our train-on players. So there is a really strong flavour in WA in our team.
So clearly isn't a coincidence either, I don't reckon, that Ryan Petrick coached Sammy Whitcomb and Darcy Garvin and Alex Shibatoni and Taya Burrows. They're all on the roster. how crucial are the relationships that he's had with players over the years who we can call up and say, you're talented, we want you, come back, as opposed to someone else who might coach or someone else, yourself as general manager, who may not know them as well from a 15-year relationship that's been built up? Yeah,
definitely important. The head coach plays a huge role in that, not only in basketball, but other sports, as you know, with football, and you'll see that a coach comes along and has a really big say on the squad that they put in, and if they're comfortable with someone they've coached before, then they get a big say in getting them on the roster. So, and that's exactly what Ryan's coached Sammy and has that relationship with her before. Same with Taya, same with Chiva, and same with Das. So it was there's 4 straight away that he's coached in the past, and he's coached against Alex Sharp, and the coach has a major say in putting the team together 100%.
Do you feel it's a different bond with the group when you've got those sorts of connections, and what will it do for that bond within the entire basketball community if you can actually go and win it?
Look, it's the old cliche of taking it one game at a time. Although we're going 100 miles an hour to try and plan, what happens next? If this happens, we do this. If this happens, we do this. But we'd love to say we're there, but we've got a semi-final to get past first, and Canberra are tough. So they obviously beat us over here on our court probably only a week and a half ago. So they're going to be tough, and then we're off to the mighty little town or suburb of Tuggeranong in Canberra on Sunday, which will be a test in a tiny little domestic stadium that they have there in Canberra. So that'll be an interesting test. But I think with our experience of some real winners on our roster, in Jackie Young, for example, who's always been involved in whether it's a gold medal at the Olympics, whether it's a Las Vegas team that's gone deep in the playoffs. She has a really winning attitude, and so does Marina, and they just want to win. So hopefully they can bring that extra percent to the games on this weekend. So I'm really looking forward to that.
There's a good red and black flavour in Tuggeranong. The mighty Justin Blumfield, who was arguably second best on ground from the mighty Essendon Football Club in the year 2000 grand finals from Tuggeranong. So it's amazing what you remember as a footy fan when you barrack for the Bombers. You probably watched him play a few times as a recruiter.
Exactly right.
It's amazing how it happens. Now, for the all-important Dribble podcast MVP votes, this award will go through the finals, but after the last game in Perth, it was very tight at the top when the team travelled away. So for a quick recap, we had Marina Mabry still leading on 18, Jackie Young was on 17, Lauren Scherf was on 15, and Sammy Whitcomb was on 14. So for the last 3 games, against Sydney it was 1 vote to Scherf, 2 votes to Jackie Young, and 3 votes to Sammy Whitcomb. In game 1 against Townville, it was 1 vote to Scherf again, 2 votes to Marina Mabry, and 3 votes to Jackie Young. And in the final game of the season against Townville, it was 1 vote to Darcy Garvin, 2 votes Sammy Whitcomb, and 3 votes to Jackie Young, which means despite not playing in any of despite not polling in the first 5 games, Jackie Young is leading the Dribble podcast regular season MVP quite convincingly at the moment. So it's quite a remarkable effort by her. When you look at it, she's been phenomenal since finding her form and fitness. How damaging has she been across the entire league, do you reckon, with everyone looking at her going, how do we stop her, and how do we stop Marina now, and how do we stop Sammy and Darcy and Lauren during finals? Yeah, that's the plan. I'd love for all 5 of them to fire on the one night. It would be very scary. But with Jackie, she came probably, I think it was 3 weeks later than Marina, so she was a little bit behind in the pre-season. So she, obviously, after a big trip out, don't underestimate that. With the flights, they had to go via, I've got this right now, Hong Kong into Japan, across to Singapore, and then, they were all over the place. The flight took 28 hours to get down in here, and then into 2 weeks quarantine. So she really probably only did 2 weeks of pre-season, if that, to be honest. And so she's been a slow, you can see now that she's firing on all cylinders. So that's been outstanding, and her form is, as you said, right up there in the best in the league at the moment. So not putting too much pressure on her, but she'd be right up there, as you said, with your votes. Late in the season, she'd be polling a lot of votes, I would have thought, in the MVP award in the season. So, exciting, and hopefully we can get them all firing on Thursday night. It'll be exciting for the team. And having so many players in the team who know how to win. So Darcy Garvin's won WNBL titles. Lauren Scherf has won WNBL titles. Sammy Whitcomb's a dual WNBA champion winner. Jackie Young's won an Olympic gold medal, and both her and Marina won an NCAA championship. They're big game performers, and they know what it takes. Having that group together to start a game and a final, do you think that's going to be really important and a big advantage?
Yeah, I think it's hard to put how much of an advantage it is, but yeah, it definitely is. I think it is when you mention off all their names and what their accolades that they've been through, and then you even go onto the bench. Like Sharps, I know it's the next level down, but they've even played in big grand finals here on this court. So in local state NBL 1 only last year. So we do have some big game players, and that'll be exciting come Thursday.
Emma Gandini, another person who played in that Willerton grand final.
Yeah.
She's been fantastic, hasn't she? Like she's the difference what she brings on the court has been quite remarkable, I reckon.
Yeah, for a girl that's played probably nearly 200 state league games for I might have sold her short for Willerton, and probably, to be honest, a year ago probably thought she would never a chance for playing WNBL. But she's done everything right. She trains as hard as anyone, and she had to obviously try and balance it with her work. She's been outstanding, and she's fitted in really well with the group. Girls love her, and when we've needed her and we've put her on and we've given jobs for her, she's been really good.
The last time you played against Canberra, they were missing Kelly Wilson and Alex Bunton due to fears about being stuck in WA as close contacts. They're coming this time, even though our close contact rules haven't changed. Have you had to have discussions with Canberra around potentially explaining the rules that are over here and in a way that's actually helped them to get a stronger team? Or how has that discussion gone? Or are you not aware of what's happened to allow them to be convinced to come this time?
No, personally, I haven't had the discussion with them, but I'm assuming it's just this is a final and we're going to go with it. We've got to put our best team on the court. So there's sort of no tomorrow in a knockout final. So I guess they're saying this is it, we're going with it. But as you said, the rules haven't changed. So nothing's changed in regards to any exemptions or anything like that. So I'm assuming they're just rolling with it and trying to put their best potential team on the court.
And we saw the Capitals press you guys really hard. Like they weren't giving any space at all in that game where they beat you, and it felt like Townsville tried some similar tactics in the past two games. I don't think any teams really handle really hardcore defensive tactics well, but do you feel you're better placed to adjust to that sort of pressure that they might give you in this series?
Yeah, I think so. I think obviously with a couple of days of freshness as well, so we're not playing. We've virtually played every second day for near on 2 weeks there. So now we've been able to give the girls sort of 4 days off, not 4 days off, but 4 days not playing a game. I think we'll be fresh and really be able to handle that pressure. And we'll even jump another level, as you know, with any finals. That finals pressure even jumps up higher. And there'll be some nerves, no doubt about it, early on, no doubt. And hopefully a big crowd can get out there and support the girls.
And then you've got Game 2 in Canberra on Sunday. It's not easy to get to Canberra. It's one of those places where getting from Perth is nigh on impossible. There is a direct flight on Friday, which takes about 4 hours, which gives you then a full day in Canberra. Or then you got, if you stay in Perth the extra day, given people have to work, the fastest option on Saturday is via Sydney, which takes 6.5 hours. Do you know which one you're going to take yet? Yeah,
at this stage we'll take the Saturday. We'll give the girls another night in their own bed, and then head over on Saturday, and then fly back on Monday morning. That's the plan at this stage. I mean, it can change. Obviously, it's only early in the week. We do have some flexibility if we want to look at that, but at this stage, that's the plan.
That is one of the challenges, isn't it? You could have played Adelaide, you could have played Melbourne, and it could have been anywhere. You've ended up once again against a team which has the most difficult place to get to.
Yeah, exactly right. But as the old Ross Lyon will play anyone, anywhere. You have to. The bonus, I guess, is we have home court advantage, especially for the semi. So if it is 1-1, we get to come back here and do it all again next Wednesday night. But let's hope we get it done in 2 and we can have a 4 weeks break before a potential grand final the following weekend.
That would be amazing. Well, look, thanks for joining us. You've had a fantastic season as a team. If Lynx fans, if you're having a look around the stadium this weekend, you'll see Brent, because he never sits down, he just walks around the stadium the entire time. You're a bit of a nervous watcher, aren't you?
Look, absolutely, Craig. In all my time in sport, I've always been don't like to sit down. I like to just walk around, mix it up, and very superstitious. If we're going okay and I find a good spot, then I'll sit there and until we if you see me walking again, obviously we're not going that well. So, look, one thing I do have to say before I go is I'm not sure if anyone's aware, but it might be someone's birthday today. Is that correct?
It might be mine. Yeah, it might be.
21 today, I think, isn't it, mate?
21, double it, add a few more. Yeah, so 46 years old. There hasn't been an Essendon player who's worn 46 has been any good, so it's disappointing. Next year, I'm Ricky Olorenshaw, but this year it's been a bit of a battle to find someone who I can say who I am. So thank you very much for that.
Exactly. No worries, mate. Hope you had a good day.
Thank you very much. Well, good luck. Hope things really go really well for you, and I'm sure that you'll get a really strong crowd this week, and hopefully you don't need another crowd next week, and you can knock Canberra over in 2 and then get into a grand final.
Yeah, fingers crossed, and this time next week we're talking about a potential grand final. That'd be great.
Thanks for joining us. Good luck.
Good on you. Thanks, Craig.
Okay, now that interview with Brent Dawkins was recorded mid-afternoon, and it's now several hours later. We are recording in a slightly different format, hence the change in sound. We're on Zoom, and we're heading to Japan, and with all the talk being about Wildcats imports, it's an ideal time to have a chat to a man who took the NBL by storm last season.
Oh my! John Mooney with the hammer putback. And Mooney steps out. He started behind the three-point line and he's hyping up the Red Army. He finishes in the air.
John Mooney, welcome to the Dribble podcast.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Now, it's March 22 today. We've been talking birthdays earlier in the podcast, and that means we are 2 days past your 24th birthday. So happy birthday. How'd you celebrate?
Thank you. Yeah, I actually had a game out here in Japan, and, we got the win, and then hung out with some of the guys afterwards. So it was a good birthday.
So you mentioned you're in Japan, you're playing there this season, but it's been amazing over here how much people have referred to you both during games, in the coverage, social media. Have you heard, or have you, has it people reached out to you at all about how much you are still loved over in this part of the world?
I have, man. And, it's honestly really cool to see. I love my time in Perth, and the fans there were so welcoming, and to be able to still communicate with some of them, via social media and whatnot. It really is cool, man. It makes me feel good. And, the Red Army is unbelievable, and they treated me with so much respect. So, I'll always be grateful for that. And it's cool to be able to keep in touch with some of the fans as well.
Well, let's tell all of those fans how you're going. You are at the Chiba Jets, and they're second on the ladder with a 25-6 record, but it hasn't all been smooth sailing for you with your body.
Yeah, it's been a good year for sure. Dealing with an injury right now. It's not too serious. Fortunately, scans came back, pretty good with my shoulder. So should be back in a couple of weeks. But, I'm loving my time here in Japan. The team is awesome. The organization is great. So, I'm having a great time.
The timeline appears really challenging for you. So I'm looking it up, and it said you played on January 26, and then you were out for a while, came back on March 9 and haven't played since. What's been the issues that allowed you to get back but not be able to stay back?
Well, actually, that was because of the scheduling over here. We had some COVID problems with the scheduling. Some games were canceled. And then actually the national team break, where actually Japan played Australia a couple of weeks ago. They shut the league down here for some of those players that were in that game, or those games, I guess. So I've only missed, 2 or 3 games. It hasn't been the shoulder problem. It was, the COVID with not only my team, but the other teams. The whole league was kind of on pause for a little bit. And then the national team break, a challenging schedule. But fortunately, I haven't missed many games because of the shoulder.
I'm looking at the schedule coming from here. You're playing every second or third day, it appears. So you could miss a fair bit of time just by missing 1 or 2 weeks, can't you, in terms of the number of games you can miss?
Yeah, we're certainly kind of amping it up right now. The schedule is pretty daunting the next couple of weeks due to cancellations earlier in the year, kind of postpone them to this time. So hopefully won't miss too many games. Hopefully I can, get back on the floor, rehab my shoulder up, and help my team out.
Geez, you've had some huge games. Like, you had some big ones over here, but talk to me about the period between December 4 and 12 in Japan, where you played 4 games and averaged 19 points and 15 rebounds. That must have been some fun games to be involved with.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That was a good little run there for sure. I just love the way we play over here. The team is great. The coaches are awesome. And you play a lot of games, which, as a player, you want to play games. If you're rolling kind of, with the momentum of, not having many days off in between games, you can keep it going. So, like I said before, I'm enjoying it. That was certainly a good run. And hopefully these next couple of weeks, I can get back to that form. So
you are a workhorse. You love to be involved in everything. And everyone we've spoken to in the past talks about how hard you train, and you're always involved in everything. Does Does that sort of fixture suit you better than the 2 games on the weekend, 5-day break, another 2 games, 5-day break?
Yeah, it's definitely different. That's something or this schedule is something that I've never had in my career before. Obviously, playing this past year in Perth, less games over the course of the season, and then in college, it's similar where you play maybe 1 or 2 times a week. So it's definitely different, and took me a week or 2 to get adjusted to earlier in the season. But like I said before, man, it's nice to be able to go from game to game. It's almost like an NBA schedule, to be honest, where, like you said, you're kind of playing every other night. 3 times a week, usually maybe 4. So I like it because you're playing games, and like you said, work hard pretty much every night. So I like it.
So Nick Kay, a former Wildcat, was on here with a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and obviously you never played with him, and you haven't had the chance to play against him yet due to the schedule and the way it's all worked out. But he talked about the desire to travel around the world, play different styles, and become a different player as a result. What were you looking for when you were going to Japan in terms of trying to enhance your career on the court?
Yeah, I agree with what Nick said about traveling the world. That's something that interests me, experiencing many different cultures. This is my second year as a professional, and this is the second I've been able to see, obviously, Australia being the first one, and then coming over here, meeting all the people here. Style of play is different. I would say it's faster just because, we're getting up and down the court quickly. That's how we play. That's how most of the teams here play. It's a different brand of basketball. I think, both leagues are very challenging. And yeah, it was just a great opportunity for me, something that, I couldn't pass up. And like I said before, I'm really liking it.
So where are you a better player specifically as a result of doing college into Australia, now into Japan? Where do you think your skill set has improved the most?
Yeah, I would say defensively, I thought I improved a lot in Perth. Coach Gleason was always on me, telling me, Buzz, we need to do a better job of, defending ball screens. He was on me from day one. And, looking back on it, it was great for me to be able to learn from, a coach like him and all the guys in Perth. I think, I'm a much better defender now. A lot of American imports are the bigs over here. So you're playing against, a really good big man pretty much every night. So you have to bring it. And that's something that was attracted to me, and, something that I wanted to do to, embrace that challenge.
You mentioned Buzz before, the Buzz Light, your nickname you got in Australia. Does that go over to Japan, or they call you something totally different?
That one didn't travel. That was Jesse Wagstaff, man. He came up with that. That hasn't traveled here. People call me John or Mooney or Moon here for the most part.
So Jesse Wagstaff was also responsible for telling you to say cheers, big ears to Damien Martin, wasn't he, during the coverage one time? So he's got you a few times.
Right. That's right, man. Jesse's the man. He's a funny dude. And I miss those guys.
So we all were hoping that your performances would lead to an NBA opportunity. Where do you think you sit right now in terms of what you're being told by agents or clubs over there in terms of what you need to do to get to that level?
Yeah, I had after the NBL season, I was fortunate enough to be able to get a summer league invitation. I think a lot of that was due to, the NBL and I would say the growth and how much NBA teams watch that league. It's one of the best, if not, the top league outside of the NBA in the world. It's one of them. And I think, the NBA really has its radar on the NBL. So certainly I was, very fortunate for that opportunity. And the summer league thing didn't necessarily go great. Didn't go as maybe I would have planned. But it was a good opportunity, something that I'll never forget. And if I get that opportunity again, hopefully, I'll be able to maximize it, and we'll see what happens from there. So yeah.
What did happen at Summer League? Because you didn't get the stats say you only played one game in about 11 minutes of court time. Were you injured? Did it just not work out? What was the situation there? Yeah,
so there was about a week-long training camp before in Milwaukee that I played in, and thought I was playing well. And when we got to Vegas, pretty much they gave the playing time to a lot of the guys that were already in the organization. They drafted a big. They had a couple bigs already on the roster, young guys who, they wanted to pretty much give all the reps, which I completely understand. They're giving their investments, the time to get better. And that's pretty much what Summer League is for. Unfortunately, it kind of left me, with not much playing time, which again is fine. It was a great opportunity. And by the time, a couple of those games finished, this Japanese team wanted me over here. So I was on pretty much a flight after our second game. So just wasn't great timing, wasn't a great, opportunity for playing time. But, again, something that I'll never forget, putting an NBA jersey on, being in Summer League, being in that environment was awesome. So, I was, very grateful for the opportunity.
I asked Nick Kay this same question when we spoke about the potential to come back to the NBL, and he said he'd love to come back, but you're only a basketball player for so long, and the money you can earn overseas is probably better than what you can in Australia. So you need to set yourself up there first before coming back. Would you look at it in a similar way at your age, 24, windows open and close pretty quickly? Is it simply too lucrative for you to be playing overseas to be back in Australia, do you feel?
I've said it before. My time in Australia was unbelievable. I thought I became a better player being around those guys that were there in Perth and playing against the competition in the NBL every night. It made me a better player, no doubt. And, I think it's fortunately set me up for this opportunity that I have here. I believe that, to the fullest, playing in Perth, having some success as a team, teams around the world watch that league, no doubt. And I think it set me up. So, I'm happy where I'm at right now. It's a great opportunity. And down the road, if, I want to come back to Australia, I would certainly be, more than open to do that just because, I'd love my time there. And, if it happens. Like I said before, it's set a great opportunity up right now where I'm at. So we'll see what happens down the road.
Well, the Wildcats are certainly missing you. I'm sure they would love to have you, even though they're in a really good position at the moment. And if we look at the votes we've given for the Dribble Podcast MVP Awards for the last game against New Zealand, 1 vote to Majuk, who was filling your role, 8 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists. 2 votes to Bryce Cotton, 25 points, 5 rebounds and 6 assists. And the 3 votes went to Vic Law for his 26 points and 12 rebounds. So it's been a really interesting time for Wildcats at the moment. We're talking a lot about imports because Michael Fraser II, who's one of their imports, they're trying to move on and bring in John Brown, who's also an American. You're 2 years out of college. You've experienced the 2 years of being an import at different clubs. Is there big pressure that you feel when you're an import and everyone wants you to be the man?
Yeah, I think so. When you're an import, you're expected to come in and do your job to the fullest. And, luckily I was playing with Bryce, man. So he's the man. And, I thought, we had great chemistry. He, we played off each other pretty well. And I certainly missed playing with him. I think he made me a better player, no doubt, just playing with him and getting the open looks that I got. And then, coming over here, all the guys are great. There's many older players here that are kind of mentoring me, and we're sort of in the same position. So I'm battling some of these older guys that are here right now, some of these older American bigs. And, it's awesome, man, to be able to learn from guys like that. So I just kind of use, the experiences that I've had to learn to get better. And there certainly is pressure, but, I like pressure and I like working hard, and I like, proving people. So, I embrace the challenge for sure.
Tell us where you're living. It's near water. I can see that via a map, and you're not far from Tokyo. So what's the situation in terms of where you live, what you can do, and when you're not involved in basketball?
Yeah, so I'm in Funabashi, which is a city in Chiba. It's the prefecture that I'm in, and then it's probably about an hour outside of Tokyo. So, we head to Tokyo, a decent amount just, to go to restaurants and shop and, hang out. So it's an awesome city. Tokyo is, there's something to do every night. There's heaps of things to do. So, I've enjoyed to, visit Tokyo, travel around, Japan, just playing games and stuff and playing against the other teams here. So, it's beautiful, and, I'm really liking it.
I mentioned the Wildcats looking for a change in imports at the moment. Both of the guys who we're talking about, John Brown and Michael Fraser, are from Florida originally. I know it's a big place, but basketball seems to be quite a small world at different times. Have you crossed their paths at any point? They're a lot older than you. Have you heard of them before, John Brown III and Michael Fraser II?
I've heard of John Brown, but I remember watching Michael Fraser play back when I was in middle school and high school. I was a big Florida Gator fan. I actually committed to Florida before I ended up at Notre Dame with Billy Donovan when he was there. So, I was up in Gainesville a lot. I remember watching Michael when I was young, man. And he was a great player, still is. Wish him the best. And yeah, I've definitely been following, the Wildcats and wish them the best moving forward too.
We've heard all the stuff about what he was able to do, and he's had some injuries over here as well and hasn't hit top form. When he's playing well, what did you notice about him? Because obviously you've seen him for a lot longer than what we have over here.
Unbelievable shooter. I remember watching him at Florida. He would run off 3-4 threes in a row. Playing with Scotty Wilbekin. I know the NBL is familiar with that name. Casey Prather, other NBL guy. So I remember watching all those guys play. But certainly Frazier was, a great shooter, great scorer, and he's a great player.
A couple of other people who are sort of linked with you who are in Perth at the moment are at the Perth Lynx. Marina Mabry and Jackie Young both went to Notre Dame and won an NCAA title there. Did you cross their paths at any point?
Yeah, both of them. We were all there together. Me and Jackie actually came in at the same time. We were freshmen together. So, we were pretty close. I think she left maybe my senior year to go to the WNBA. But, yeah, we're very close with both of them. The women's teams and the men's team were always pretty close. We would hang out together off the court. Yeah, both of them are really good players. Marina's a great shooter. Jackie kind of does it all. So, yeah, I've been following them, too, over there in Perth, and it seems like they're having a great year.
It's amazing how small the basketball world actually is, isn't it?
Yes,
People are all over the world, and you find it, and you can find each other in any part of it. How do you rate your championship chances at the Chiba Jets? Do you reckon your chance to go one better than last year over here at the NBL?
Yeah, I think we have a great chance. There's some really good teams over here that are kind of battling out for playoff spots. I think we'll definitely get in the playoffs, and then you want to be playing your best. Come May, June, that's when the playoffs are here. So hopefully, if we continue to work and put the time in, then I think we have a pretty good chance, no doubt.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's late at night over in Japan. You've had a big day. You've had a big couple of days actually with games and rehab and all that sort of stuff. So I know that Wildcats fans would love to be hearing from you now and knowing what you're up to. Hopefully the injury isn't too bad and you can be back on court really soon.
I appreciate that, Craig. It's always great talking to you guys. Great catching up with some Perth Wildcats fans. Like I said, I'll never forget my time in Perth. It holds a special place in my heart. So wish the organization and you guys the best moving forward, no doubt.
Well, that's it for the Dribble podcast for this week. Remember, keep logging on to thewest.com.au for all your basketball news and pick up your copy of The West Australian. Thanks to Samantha Rogers for her production work. Thanks to Brent Dawkins and John Mooney for their time. We'll be back next week for another episode of the Dribble podcast.